Thank you for watching this briefing, where we will provide you with some information on the ASDAN Level 1 Foundation Project Qualification, often referred to as the FPQ, and the Level 2 Higher Project Qualification, often referred to as the HPQ. I'm Kerry King, Senior Education Development Partner at ASDAN and lead for the Personal Effectiveness Pathway. I'm joined by Kath Moss, Head of Curriculum Development, who will shortly be taking us through the qualifications. You may be new to ASDAN or have worked with us in the past, but here's a little information about who we are. ASDAN is an education charity and awarding organisation which specialises in curriculum programmes and qualifications designed to develop personal, social and work-related skills. Our mission is to engage, elevate and empower young people, particularly those with diverse needs or facing barriers to success. At the heart of ASDAN's DNA is the development of executive function skills, things like planning, organising, regulating emotions, problem solving and reflecting. These aren't extra skills, they are the foundations that unlock learning itself. What ASDAN does is deliberately create learning experiences that build metacognition, thinking about thinking, strengthen self-regulation, so managing focus, emotions and behaviour, and encourage agency and reflection, owning decisions and learning from them. Kath will now talk us through the qualifications and some of the key points of these.
ASDAN is excited to add these new qualifications to our suite. The ASDAN FPQ and HPQ are Level 1 and 2 qualifications, equivalent in size to half a GCSE. They're designed for learners aged 14 plus. These two qualifications can be used to provide progression through Key Stage 4. And because they're aimed at learners aged 14 to 16, they can be linked to work experience and act as vehicles for careers learning. There are 30 hours of taught content when learners develop the skills they need to plan, execute and present their project. The taught element prepares learners for working independently and covers research skills, project management, critical thinking, and reflection. This is followed by 30 hours of independent learning, where learners apply those skills in practice. A key feature of these qualifications is the balance of the learner owning the project, steering it, and managing the outcomes and outputs, and the teacher, who acts as a supervisor and guide. This balance is critical. It allows learners to develop independence under supervision. But we should really talk about why project qualifications, in this case the FPQ and HPQ, are such valuable qualifications for young people. Most people are much more familiar with traditional qualifications for Level 2, such as GCSEs. However, these are by design focused on subject-specific knowledge and skills. And of course, it's important that young people do learn these things, especially where GCSEs provide direct progression onto further study at A-levels or entry onto a specific career route. But GCSEs don't necessarily prepare young people well for independent study, employment, or even develop the skills that we know young people need to be able to navigate the adult world. They're not designed to develop the full range of capabilities learners need to thrive beyond these qualifications. And that's where project-based qualifications come in. They sit alongside other qualifications and fill that gap. Project qualifications develop learner agency and ownership, as well as resilience, communication, and self-management, things that employers say young people need to be well prepared for the workplace. Project qualifications prompt learners to think about what interests and motivates them, what they're good at, and where these qualifications might lead them in the future. They help to develop positive aspirations in young learners. This matters now more than ever. What we're seeing increasingly is that success after education depends on much more than grades. It depends on employability, confidence and resilience, the ability to apply knowledge in real contexts, and readiness for progression. At the same time, many young people report low confidence and high anxiety, and fewer feel ready to move into work or further study. National data reinforces this challenge. In the UK, there's a growing number of young people becoming disengaged from both education and employment, which has long-term consequences for their confidence, well-being, and economic prospects. This was reported in the very recent Young People and Work interim report by Alan Milburn. So there's a clear disconnect. We're teaching content successfully, but not always equipping learners to use it, adapt it, and have confidence in applying it. Project qualifications have been designed specifically to address that disconnect. When we look at the skills we believe young people will need in the future, the message is very consistent. Skills like critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and self-management are increasingly central. On the slide, this is shown in the graphic produced by the World Economic Forum. Importantly, research shows that the application of skills and workplace readiness are best developed through active, applied learning, not through passive knowledge acquisition. Project-based learning is widely recognised as a student-centred approach that develops problem-solving, collaboration, and real-world application of knowledge. So project qualifications are aligned well with well-established evidence about how people learn best. Project-based learning fundamentally changes the learner's role in the qualifications that they're undertaking. They're no longer passive participants in a curriculum that's been set by someone else. Project qualifications offer freedom to learners to choose their own project. They give learners the opportunity to gain a range of skills. They help learners to develop and apply these skills. And they help learners to use their learning experience to support personal aspirations. Instead of following a prescribed path, learners lead their own inquiry, choose something meaningful to them that they feel passionate about, and work through planning, research, creation, and evaluation. Because learners select their own project focus, they're able to build learning around curiosity, passion, and aspiration, which often results in higher engagement and greater ownership of learning. This approach is strongly supported by research. Meta-analyses of project-based learning show positive impacts on both academic achievement and student motivation compared to traditional instruction. This happens because learners are applying knowledge rather than memorizing it. They're solving real problems and they're reflecting on their learning. So the outcome is not just engagement, it's deeper and more transferable learning. Project learning and qualifications are not just about the topic of the project. They're about the process of learning itself, strengthening awareness and understanding of the learner's own skills and how they can continue to develop these. One of the most powerful aspects of the FPQ and HPQ is the freedom learners have to pursue topics that genuinely interest them. This matters because engagement is often strongest when learning is meaningful and personally relevant. Within an agreed framework, learners can investigate topics linked to future careers, hobbies and interests, personal passions, community concerns, local interests, future aspirations. For some learners, this may be the first opportunity they have had to direct their own learning around something they genuinely care about. The qualifications provide a rigorous structure while allowing learners to express individuality and creativity. A project qualification is one qualification, but with thousands of possible projects. Many young people develop significant expertise and enthusiasm in specific areas of interest. Project qualifications create opportunities to turn those interests into meaningful learning. For learners who think differently, approach problems differently, or develop particularly strong subject interests, project work can provide an avenue for demonstrating strengths that may not always emerge through traditional assessment. The focus is not simply on finding the right answer. It's about asking questions, exploring possibilities, making connections, and developing understanding. The Foundation and Higher Project Qualifications can form part of a progressive learner journey. In Year 9, learners may use an FPQ to explore their personal interests and potential career sectors. In Year 10, projects can be linked directly to work experience placements and employer engagement. In Year 11, HPQ projects can support progression decisions, future aspirations. This creates a journey of exploration, investigation, reflection, and progression, while continually developing ASDAN 6 core skills. One way the learner journey can be shown is by looking at how project qualifications can be used to complement work experience. Work experience shouldn't be a standalone activity. Project qualifications become particularly powerful in this context. They can provide the foundation for meaningful project work. For example, a learner placed in a veterinary practice could investigate career pathways in animal care. A learner on work placement in a construction company could research sustainable building techniques. A learner on work placement in a primary school could examine effective approaches to supporting literacy. The placement becomes more purposeful. The project becomes more authentic. Careers education, curriculum learning, and personal development become closely connected. It's important to remember, though, that project qualifications aren't just about work experience. The key focus is on learner choice. There are thousands of possible projects, and learners gain most from this learning experience when they have agency and ownership of their own learning journey. At the heart of ASDAN's approach to all its courses are its 6 core skills, what we call our DNA. These are learning skills, communication skills, decision-making and problem-solving skills, thinking, and importantly, critical thinking skills, team working and working collaboratively with others, self-awareness, including resilience and well-being in learning. ASDAN's DNA is grounded in strong evidence. The Education Endowment Foundation highlights that metacognition and self-regulation, essentially the ability to plan, monitor, and evaluate your own learning, are among the highest impact strategies for improving outcomes. So what we are doing here is embedding these approaches directly into the qualification design. These are not optional extras. They are explicitly taught and developed through our project qualifications. ASDAN 6 skills remain consistent regardless of the project topic. Every learner develops the same skills through their own choice of context. A learner investigating marine conservation develops the same skills as a learner investigating engineering, childcare, esports, or entrepreneurship. The context changes, the skills remain the same. In addition to the ASDAN 6 skills, if you've ever worked with learners on an ASDAN course or qualification before, you'll know that planning, doing, and reviewing is also integral to the ASDAN way of doing things. And this is something that's no different in a project qualification. This slide shows an example of how the ASDAN plan, do, review cycle works. But what does this look like for the FPQ and HPQ? Let's break these down further so that you've got an idea of what learners actually do. Assessment is built around 4 objectives that are not arbitrary. They reflect the full life cycle of real-world project work, as well as workplace practice. The 6 ASDAN skills are not taught separately from the qualification. They're developed naturally through every aspect of project work. When learners create an action plan and manage deadlines, they're developing learning skills. When they present findings and interview employers, they develop communication skills. When they solve challenges and adapt plans, they develop problem-solving skills. When they evaluate evidence, they develop critical thinking. When they work with mentors, supervisors, and employers, they develop teamwork. When they reflect on progress and recognize strengths, they develop self-awareness. The qualifications don't simply assess knowledge, they develop capable, reflective, and adaptable young people and learners. Learners use their learning experience of project qualifications to support their aspirations for further learning and career development. Together, these objectives ensure learners are not just producing work, they're demonstrating how they think, how they learn, and how they improve. And that's exactly what universities and employers want. The FPQ and HPQ recognise that learners don't all demonstrate learning in the same way. Some learners prefer writing, others excel through practical work, others again thrive when creating, performing or presenting. The range of possible project outcomes allows learners to showcase their strengths while still meeting the same assessment objectives. This flexibility supports engagement across a broad range of learners and helps create opportunities for more learners to experience success. They allow learners to play to their own personal strengths, to explore different ways of demonstrating learning, and to connect their work to real-world or vocational contexts. Learners could produce an industry investigation report, a portfolio of employer interviews, a community project, a workplace improvement proposal, a career investigation or career pathway presentation. Research shows that authentic, real-world tasks significantly enhance both engagement and skill development. But beyond the output, the real impact is in what learners develop: initiative, self-awareness, resilience, and self-management. These are the attributes that go far beyond the qualification itself. All of these types of output are accompanied with a presentation and a question and answer session when learners present their project output, outcomes, and review to an audience. The FPQ and HPQ are graded, just like GCSEs, so they can be quite easily compared. We know that for centres, confidence in the integrity of a qualification is critical. ASDAN project qualifications use a robust multi-layered model. They're internally assessed by a supervisor assessor. They're internally moderated and standardised, and also externally moderated by ASDAN. This ensures that the grade a learner achieves is a true reflection of their capability to learn independently, all of which ensures fairness, consistency, and reliability. Centres are supported by ASDAN with initial qualification training, guidance, ongoing support through ASDAN's Centre Support Team and Education Development Partners, who are on hand to deal with admin queries and discuss delivery conundrums. In summary, the ASDAN FPQ and HPQ address a clear and well-evidenced gap by developing the skills, confidence, and independence that learners need for their next steps through a carefully designed project-based approach, evidence-informed teaching and assessment, and robust quality assurance. Learners who complete project qualifications can be expected to show progress confidently to Key Stage 4 success. Their choice of academic or vocational pathway, such as GCSEs, T-levels, and apprenticeships, as well as demonstrating vital employability skills. So for centres, these are not just qualifications that sound good, they're rigorous, nationally recognised, and effective in supporting progression and success. Project qualifications provide a common framework that celebrate individual interest.
You may be new to ASDAN or an existing ASDAN member looking to offer these qualifications. Either way, we would love to speak with you. If you're brand new to ASDAN, please complete an expression of interest form indicating your interest in these qualifications. One of our education development partners will be in contact to arrange a meeting to get to know more about your centre and learners to ensure project qualifications are the right route for your learners. The expression of interest form can be found on the ASDAN website on the membership page. If you're an existing ASDAN member, we would love to talk to you and ensure that project qualifications are the right fit. Please book a meeting with one of the personal effectiveness team. Our education development partners will be able to talk you through approval and training requirements. You can use the QR code on screen to book a meeting or drop us an email to start the conversation. You will also need to request approval to deliver the qualification, and this can be done in the members area of the ASDAN website. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to meeting with you soon.